Lowe's knows you've got a job to do, and we help get it done. With the MyLowe's Pro Rewards program, eligible members save more with volume discounts on qualifying orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Offer can't be combined with any other discount, contract, and/or special pricing. Exclusions, more terms, and restrictions apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Getting together to talk things over. MPs gear up with 1 week to go before the House is back. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The answers you need
from the people in the know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
Last week it was Liberal cabinet ministers. This week it's going to be the whole Liberal team. With 1 week to go before the House of Commons gets back in action, Liberal MPs, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, will assemble in Edmonton. A 3-day meeting that starts tomorrow. It will be the first time the entire Liberal caucus has met since January, when Justin Trudeau announced he would resign as Prime Minister. And it comes just days after Prime Minister Carney announced a number of measures that he says are designed to make the Canadian economy more resilient. At an event in Mississauga, Carney confirmed reports that the EV sales mandate, a Trudeau-era policy, is going to be reviewed. Carney said that decision was made because the auto sector is going through restructuring.
The suspension of the EV mandate for 2026 is part of helping with that. Crucially, that strategic response fund that we announced today, the $5 billion that's available for retooling, reinvestment, repositioning, we expect heavy use in the auto industry to help with that repositioning. And it is in the context of broader trade discussions, yes, with the United States, first and foremost, given the deep ties between Canada and the United States in the auto sector, as well as other countries.
Another Trudeau-era EV policy was a 100% tariff on EVs made in China. The Chinese government responded to that move by placing massive tariffs on Canadian canola, pork, and seafood. Whether those tariffs on made-in-China EVs will be removed, Mr. Carney wouldn't say.
With respect to China, we have begun more intense engagement with China with respect, first and foremost, to canola and other agriculture and seafood products. But it will, I'm sure those discussions will branch out, but it's too early to come to any conclusions on those.
As for what the auto industry thinks of the EV sales mandate review, Flavio Volpe is president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, and he thinks the government's move is a good one.
The challenge is, over the last couple of years, every single manufacturer here committed to making an EV or a battery or a plug-in hybrid. 85% plus of the product that are made here sold to the U.S., and the Americans said, we're ending the incentives, we're ending the industrial support, let's go back to pickup trucks and dinosaurs. And the factories here are geared to push product there. So we've asked for a pause. You know, you've all heard me talk about the EV mandates. We're committed to electrification, especially the supplier end, but you have to be able to get contracts where there's volume so that you make hundreds of thousands of something so you can employ people. If people are not buying or you don't have that market, it's nice to do, like we built Project Arrow, but we built one car. I don't have to worry about whether somebody buys it. All these companies sell hundreds of thousands, and none of them are headquartered in Canada.
What happened to the fight against climate change? Some Liberals are wondering, because it was Mark Carney who killed the carbon tax and is now reviewing the EV sales mandate. Over the weekend, Melanie Joly refused to say if Canada is still committed to reaching its targets for cutting greenhouse gases. Mr. Carney was long known as a big supporter of climate policies. Now there are reports some Liberal MPs are forming what's being called a climate caucus. Carney suggested policies like the EV sales mandate don't make sense right now because of the struggles the auto sector is facing, but that his government remains committed to the fight against climate change.
Right now, they've got enough on their plate right now. So we're taking that off, allowing them to focus, working with them. We're using this as an opportunity as part of a broader strategy on climate competitiveness to look at all our measures to help get greenhouse gases down, as I said a moment ago in French, greenhouse gases down in the key sectors, as well as across the economy. And we'll look at the interaction between the EV mandate, our clean fuel standards, our investment tax credits, our trade policy, all of those elements, because what this government is focused on is absolutely results. Not saying something's going to happen at a certain time, but giving workers and businesses the tools to make it happen.
Where do things stand with the White House on a trade deal right now? Mr. Carney's point person on that file has been Dominic LeBlanc, the Canada-U.S. trade minister. He says talks are ongoing at very senior levels.
In our discussions last week with Secretary Lutnick, in the boardroom at his Commerce Department offices were very senior officials of his department. Ambassador Hillman was with us, as was Mr. Sabia and Marc-André Blanchard. And at the end of that meeting, there was an agreement amongst all of us that we would pursue technical discussions in the context of going over different sectors where Canada believes we can come to an agreement that would be in the economic interest of both countries.
Speaking in Ottawa, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre suggested the Liberals are great at having meetings, just not so great at delivering results. Poilievre says it reminds him of Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
George Costanza. You remember George Costanza? He was a legend. George Costanza had this great episode where he had this fancy, high-paying job with a corner office. And he didn't do any work, like literally none, but he wanted to look busy. So he would storm up and down the hallways carrying file folders. He would leave the lights on in his car in front of the office building on the weekend, even though he wasn't there. He would yell into the phone, even though no one was on the other end of the line. And they kept paying him because he looked so busy. I have to admit, Mark Carney has looked really busy this summer. He's been flying off to Europe to sign declarations of intent that actually mean absolutely nothing. He's been holding roundtables with other politicians. You've seen politicians patting each other on the back, congratulating themselves on all the excellent meetings they've been holding. There have been letters written to ministers that then get leaked to media and are reported with great fanfare on front pages everywhere. My goodness, he's almost as busy and as useless as George Costanza.
Well, the Liberals will be meeting in Edmonton. The 7-member NDP caucus will meet this week in Vancouver. And Bloc MPs will be having a meeting of their own in Saint-Foy, which is a suburb of Quebec City. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
A week GDP report, a weak unemployment report. The last 2 Fridays have not delivered good news for the Canadian economy. Let's talk about how the economy is doing with Pedro Antunes. Pedro is the chief economist at the Conference Board of Canada. Welcome back. Good to hear from you.
Well, great to be back. Thanks for having me.
How's the economy doing, in your opinion, Pedro?
Well, it's not good news. It's not been good news at all. We had essentially a report from Statistics Canada that told us that the second quarter of this year was, in fact, strongly negative. They gave us a number of 0.4 for the quarter, but it reflects about a decline of about 1.6% at an annual rate. So when you think about our economy, in a good year, it grows 2%. You can think about that second quarter about, diametrically opposite decline of where we should be. So very bad news. We know what's happening in the second quarter. Essentially, our exports have come down. We had a strong quarter in terms of trade in the first quarter because we were trying to get in ahead of the tariffs. So some of that is reflecting that, essentially that coming off of those high exports that we had pre-tariff. But going forward, the problem now is that all of this uncertainty created by this tariff war, both with the U.S., by the way, and now China, is essentially holding back business investment. We saw that in the second quarter. Consumer spending is still holding on, but we know that the consumer confidence is down significantly as well. So this is not boding well for the third quarter either.
What's happening with employment in the country?
Well, that's the other piece. With the jobs report we just got so much bad news last week. We got a jobs report as well telling us that, in fact, we'd lost 66,000 jobs in August. Now, if you tally that over a longer trend, because the monthly employment numbers can be quite jumpy, what we're seeing is essentially no growth in employment since the start of this year. So no, essentially a flat jobs report since the beginning of the year. And our unemployment rate now has ticked up to, for the labor force as a whole, to above 7%, 7.1% in August. Most of that thus far, prior to August, had been hitting the very young, especially the 15 to 19-year-olds, a lot of unemployment there in that group. But in the very latest number, we saw that most of the job losses were in that core age cohort, so the 25 to 54. So it's hitting everyone now. The impacts are spreading beyond just those sectors that were hit specifically with tariffs, and we're really quite concerned about how the economy is performing and what's coming.
How likely is it things could get worse before they get better?
Well, Statistics Canada is certainly telling us that the third quarter so far, most of the indicators that are coming in are not looking good, including the employment numbers that we just talked about. And the worry I have here is now that's possibly 2 quarters of decline. In Canada, that signals a technical recession. And I think all of this uncertainty is just going to continue to add to that. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy when, business confidence and consumer confidence are so weak, they actually hold back that spending and that investment. And, that just beckons, more declines to come. So we are hopeful that we'll see some resolution to this tariff war in coming months, in coming weeks, hopefully. And we do know that there's a lot of action being taken by the federal government. Some of the stimulus will certainly help counter the weakness that we're seeing in general in the economy right now.
Okay. The Bank of Canada's next announcement on interest rates will be September 17th. What are you expecting, given this economic data, what are you expecting from the Bank of Canada?
Well, I think we will see one more rate cut. The bank has essentially not changed rates since March. They've been holding on, I think, because they're uncertain as to what's coming, and they want to keep some powder dry, I guess, in case the economy goes south. They'll have some room to maneuver and bring rates lower. They're pretty much at what they would call the neutral rate right now, and that is a rate that is not adding to economic activity nor taking away. That's what they call the neutral rate. But if the economy goes south, if the economy starts to get worse, especially if we see continued job losses, we do expect the bank may continue to lower rates. We're expecting a 25 basis point decline in September, possibly nothing else, depending on how the economy goes. The other thing, of course, that's most important for the bank is inflation. And inflation, even though the top line inflation numbers now are down because of the end of our carbon tax, the core inflation numbers are still there. So the bank, it's got to be a little prudent as to how it goes forward.
Okay. Thank you for your time today. Good to hear from you.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Yep, that's Pedro Antunes, the chief economist at the Conference Board of Canada. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio. Well, it's time for our Monday Newsday political panel. Cam Holmstrom is with us. He's principal at Niipaawi Strategies. Cam is a longtime New Democrat. How are you, Cam?
Very good. Glad to be here, Rob.
Yeah, great to hear from you, along with Matthew Dube, Vice President at Proof Strategies, and Matthew is actually a former NDP MP, so we are dipper heavy today. Hello, Matthew.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Good. Very good to hear from both of you today. That means I'll have to play the right winger, I guess. I'll do my best.
We can be balanced.
All right.
Oh, shucks, Rob. Oh, shucks.
Oh, shucks. Look, on Friday, the Prime Minister made a very lengthy announcement and promised to do a great many things. New reskilling package to train 50,000 workers, a digital tool to facilitate job search applications, extra weeks of EI benefits, a strategic response fund, a Buy Canadian policy, increasing loan limits for canola producers, a review of the EV sales mandate, amendments to the clean fuel regulations. What do you think about everything that the Prime Minister announced on Friday, Cam Holmstrom?
It's necessary. It's a good start. And let's be honest, the longer this goes on, there's going to be more that's going to need to be done. The fact is that, you know what, there has to be a quick response, because whenever something happens, the canola farmers being a great example, you know what, days matter, especially with that time of year for them in particular when they're going into harvest, right? So the fact is that, yeah, the government needs to be standing, but needs to be standing with everyone. And I think the way that we as a nation are going to be able to get through this united is that whenever something crops up, government is going to step in and help right away. So it couldn't be a situation where the steel sector or the auto sector or the oil and gas sector got help, but the farm sector didn't, right? So I guess I'm kind of happy to see so far that the response has been relatively the same across the board in that sense. There hasn't been any regional politics behind it, which is good. But yeah, this is a new reality we live in, right? Like even stuff like, I was a little taken aback by the Buy Canada provisions, you know? Like, I think it's a good plan, but also that's also against the whole idea of NAFTA, right? But that kind of speaks to where we're at right now with the situation where, you know what, when our neighbors aren't necessarily keeping their word to their agreements, well, we have to do what we can do. And that means, you know what, going back on a couple of things that, you know, we have done in good faith. So, yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing where the rubber hits the road on some of this. But to me, yeah, I'm glad it's not too little too late. It's getting there on time at this point, and then, you know, being ready to do more.
What do you think, Matthew, about everything that was announced?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I'd agree with Cam that it was high time to start saying what was going to happen domestically. I mean, everyone keeps acting like nothing's wrong because the president, President Trump has got these tariffs in place that are only impacting, that won't impact CUSMA compliant goods. And everyone seemed to have forgotten that steel, aluminum, lumber, these sectors are being squeezed and really something had to be done to stop the bleeding. So it's a good start for sure. I mean, that being said, I think there's still a lot of details that are missing. Obviously, we're going to get a budget. It sounds like in October based on the signals that the government's sending. But how are you going to walk that tightrope act of investing, millions and billions of dollars even into retraining, into these EI measures, all of which are necessary, but then at the same time potentially be looking at cuts, that weird oxymoronic term that was used when the Prime Minister said austerity and investment. I mean, how do you do both? How do you dole out better EI benefits when you're potentially, I'm sure. How do you dole out better EI benefits when you're potentially reducing the number of public servants that can help you, service that program? So there's a whole, slew of questions on that front. And I think ultimately it serves as a reminder that the Prime Minister kind of came in as the knight in shining armor who was going to resolve all these trade tensions, and it just keeps persisting. And that's fine. I understand that a lot of that's out of his control. We know how belligerent the president is. But at the end of the day, there's that expectations management, and then you need to start pivoting to how you're going to protect Canadians and help them deal with affordability and job precarity that comes with all these different factors.
Okay. How surprised were you that the EV sales mandate is quote unquote under review, Cam?
Honestly, he wasn't going to stand firm on where it was at that point. Honestly, it probably would have been easier for him to say I'm scrapping all together and walk away. But I think review is the right approach because again, this is the thing about Trump. You don't know where he's going. He's spinning all over the place, right? So to review something puts it on pause, gives you a chance to look at it. And who knows where we're going to be a year from now, 2 years from now at this point, right? So I guess it makes sense to me on that level. I think the important thing to realize, too, is that when it came to hitting the actual target by 2026, which was 20%, I believe the last numbers we had were around a few years back were 19, but we had fallen back to 8 when some of the provinces cut back on their subsidies for the purchases. So if you weren't going to hit the target anyway, why not pause it, right? Like at that point, it's not to say it's not a good goal because it is a laudable goal and there's a lot of future in that industry, but it's also realizing like, look, there's some pretty strong headwinds of everything that's going on around us. Maybe it makes sense to take a step back, review what this looks like, because to be honest, the entire EV market worldwide has changed significantly in the last 5 years with the rise of the Chinese competitors, with Elon Musk deciding to basically torch Tesla to the ground because people don't want to buy them because of his political views. Like that makes a pretty big difference as to how you're going to hit a 20% target when there's so many things that are not on the table because of stuff around us.
Matthew, what did you think of that decision to put that under review?
Yeah, I mean, I think much like the way the Prime Minister handled, the carbon tax, I think this is similar, right? Where it feels misaligned with how Canadians are feeling about how we tackle climate change while also being mindful of current trade tensions, affordability issues, and the like. So I think it makes sense. It's kind of a bit of a, at the risk of being partisan, but I guess that's why I'm here. It's a bit of a typical liberal have your cake and eat it too moment where, you're not scrapping it entirely, but you're also not full-throated endorsing it. You're kind of saying, well, we'll figure it out. And quite frankly, the cynic in me, and you have to forgive it, my cynicism here, is I think this was just a way to make sure that when the House reconvenes in a couple of weeks, that they can say, hey, look, the Conservatives will ask and they'll say, it's all good, it's under review, and kind of inoculate against that because, as you know, the Conservatives were attacking the government quite fiercely back in the spring on this issue. And so now the government has a bit of a ready-made answer for that. Where it goes from here, though, again, the devil will be in the details.
Okay, be right back. We'll talk about policies aimed at fighting climate change and how this government so far compares to the previous Trudeau government when we come back. Our Newsday panel on News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
With our Monday Newsday political panel, Cam Holmstrom, principal at Niipaawi Strategies, Matthew Dube, vice president at Proof Strategies. Carbon tax gone. EV sales mandate under review. Clean fuel regulations to be amended, whatever that means and whatever that looks like. But what does this say about this government's commitment under this prime minister to fighting climate change, say, compared to the previous Trudeau government? What would you say, Matthew?
Well, I think there's a couple of things here. I think one is inevitably the public as affordability issues have been at the forefront for a couple of years now. I think that despite the urgency of tackling climate change, it's just not a priority of the public. It's a difficult thing to thread. I mean, the previous Prime Minister Trudeau used to love to say, you can, grow the economy and fight climate change, but in the minds of the public, it's hard to do both. So I think that they've kind of seem to have taken their foot off the gas a little bit on that front. And I think the other tension that exists here that's more prominent than it ever has been over the last, I'd say, 2 years is something that Cam mentioned in the last block, which is the role that provinces have to play, right? As they look to make, find more sustainable sources of electricity and things like that, right? Like there's a huge role for provinces to play here. And I think I would like to hope that at some point this will be part of the major projects piece, right? That the Prime Minister is looking at with the provinces in terms of where investment, a big piece, I think, of how this government should be looking at tackling, protecting the environment, tackling climate change. Because otherwise, if you don't have the provinces on side for a lot of that stuff, it's going to be hard to make progress here. But ultimately, again, affordability is the reigning issue. It's unfortunate that these issues can't both be tackled, but that's the political reality of this current time.
What would you say, Cam? Is this Carney government markedly different than the Trudeau government when it comes to the fight against climate change?
Well, I would argue the difference so far is that, especially with the major projects legislation, is that some of the clean initiatives that they want to do, the major projects, might actually get done. Like when you look at some of the projects that have been announced or have been spoken about, especially some of the energy corridors, they have involved transmission of clean hydro to new places. The Port to Churchill and all that. Part of that is sending clean hydro into Nunavut to get remote communities off generators, right? Like there are good sides that go along with this, right? So I think that's progress. Any progress was good. And I think aside from the affordability piece, I think we have to look at the greater context around the world. Let's just be blunt about it. With the Americans completely on the sideline now, and in fact now going the total other direction, talking about just increasing emissions willy-nilly and not really even trying to do anything anymore. Again, we come back to the fact that even though we're a big nation with a lot of surface, we only make up 2% of the world's emissions. I personally find it sadly ironic when over the summer when we were dealing with wildfires that were mostly being fueled by climate change, we had American legislators and American politicians writing letters and complaining about the smoke coming down there, even though at the same time they've decided, to heck with you, we're just going to let the planet burn. You know what? It's like, to me, it's the worst of the ugly American that you could ever possibly think of, but that's the world we live in right now. And you know what? The fact is we got to get through this time to be able to do better. But the fact is, when it comes to climate change, we can do a lot, but we can't do it without our neighbors. We can't do it with other countries. And yeah, they've just decided to throw in the towel at this point.
Oh, really? Okay. Now, Matthew, you hinted at this. You're hearing I have two messages from the Prime Minister on what to expect in the budget. Spending is not sustainable, and spending will have to come under review, and we'll have to make, of course, massive investments in things like projects in the national interest. So you're going to have austerity and investment at the same time. What do you make of that?
Well, it's one heck of a juggling act, politically speaking, if I've ever heard of one.
I would say
look,
so.
Again, I think I said this a moment ago. It's like this wanting to have your cake and eat it too. Really, I'll come back to that because that's the impression that I get when I hear things like that. There's an attempt to fend off the Conservatives and say that you'll get spending under control, after this, knowing that the Conservatives will be looking to see if there's any change from the Trudeau years. And then on the other side, you'll have, obviously the NDP is not a huge voice in House of Commons right now, but New Democrats and progressives and parts of civil society like unions, the organized labor, who will be saying, how can you possibly maintain service levels and look and have austerity and these levels of cuts? So it is a bit of a challenge. There's huge programs that were announced, the early stages of on Friday that we were just discussing, including the changes to UI. Like I said earlier, how do you plan to deliver a more robust, more robust supports for workers if you're not going to have the people there to implement and manage the program? I appreciate the public sentiment that sometimes exists. I faced it many times as an MP for my constituents about the bloated public service, but at the end of the day, these people have a job to do to make government function, and so it'll be a high wire act for the Prime Minister if there ever was one.
Okay, Cam, I'll get you to weigh in on that, but it'll have to wait until we come back. When we come back to our Newsday political panel, I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
With Cam Holmstrom and Matthew Dube, it's our Newsday political panel here on a Monday. Cam Holmstrom on this idea that there could be both austerity and investments in a fall budget, according to the Prime Minister. What do you think of that juggling act, as Matthew called it?
I don't think it's that as much of a juggling act, because the spending is going to be on infrastructure and on equipment and not on staffing. And yeah, the fact is, yes, the civil service is a bit bloated. We did see a big increase during COVID that has not come back. And yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to say there can be a right sizing done. But this is a point where I would have a word of caution to my friends in my party, the NDP, and also in the labor movement. The fact of the matter is that we are seeing more and more technology being brought into this space, AI in particular. And when you look at how some of the positions, having worked in the public service and the federal civil service, there are jobs that are lower level jobs that can likely be and will likely be replaced by AI. So is it possible to lose some people and still delivering the same services? I think it might actually be. I think it might actually be at the point. Am I advocating for that? Okay. No, but it might actually be. And I think, to me, if your approach to this is basically going to be to say rage against AI and push back against it, to me, you might as well have been raging against the internet 30 years ago or raging against the telephone 100 years ago. You're not going to win that fight. There has to be a progressive path forward that works within this environment. But to just simply say rage against it, no, we need to have more people doing what technology might be able to do, well, it's not a solution that's going to work in the end, and you're just going to get passed by.
All right. The 7 NDP MPs will be having a caucus in Vancouver this week. But just how difficult is the political rebuild for this party, Matthew, right now?
Well, I think the big challenge, it's the constant tension that exists for the federal NDP, is there are individuals in the party, both elected and in the rank and file members, who see it as a movement to articulate ideas, to be, that oft repeated expression, the conscience of Parliament. And there are many others, I dare say I include myself among those, who see the party for exactly what a political party is supposed to be, and that's an entity that wants to form government and to affect change in that way. And so I think that tension will be that much more acute this time around because the reality is, and I'm not saying this to put down the party, but at 7 MPs, they're not forming government tomorrow morning. And so it provides an opportunity for a lot of the voices who just want to remain more of a movement and advocate for ideas and not necessarily govern to take up more space. And I think balancing those two tensions and not losing sight of the end goal, no matter how far away it seems, is going to be an important thing to consider moving forward.
We only have about a minute, Cam. Just some closing thoughts on that.
Well, if people want my greater thoughts on it, I had a lot to say in the Hill Times last week, and it's much more colorful than what I can say on air here. But I agree with Matt. To me, at the end of the day, the whole point of having a political party is to govern. Being the conscience is worthless if at the end of the day, those who are governing have no conscience and don't listen to you. And to me, when I look at those people within my party, they're afraid to lead. They're afraid to make hard choices. It's easier to stand at the barricades and denounce everyone else as unpure and wrong and sellouts and the whole 9 yards than it is to actually roll your sleeves up and get something done. And as someone who's worked in the NDP caucus and spent a long time getting NDP priorities done, like, for example, the implementation of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, that took 9 years to get done. That meant working with other people. That meant looking at your political opponents, not as enemies or evil, but as people you can work with. Unfortunately, right now, I don't see anyone getting into this race who's going to take that side. And if the other side wins by default, in my mind, the party's over. It's dead.
Wow. Okay. Great to talk to both of you today. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll speak soon.
Take care.
Thank you, Rob.
Bye-bye. Matthew Dube from Proof Strategies in Ottawa. Cam Holmstrom from Niipaawi Strategies, originally from Kenora. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. Talkback is coming up next on News Radio. Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today, with your help, we're going to talk about priorities. Because 1 week from today, the House of Commons is going to be back in action. It'll be the fall sitting of Parliament. The Liberal government will promise to do many things, and the Conservative opposition will say the government isn't doing enough things and doing all the wrong things. So what we want to know today is what you think a priority should be for the government. If you had a chance to speak to the Prime Minister or speak to someone important in the government, and you could tell them to fix one thing, what would that one thing be? If you could say to the government, please, whatever you do, fix this one thing, what would that be? What's your priority? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Our lines are open right now. What would it be? Please, government, please, if you fix anything, just fix this one thing. Would it be getting a deal done with Donald Trump on trade? Because tariffs are hurting the economy. We just interviewed an economist an hour ago. This economy is this close to a recession. Get a deal done with Trump. Or would it be something else? Something else like the cost of living. Prices are still too high. It's still expensive when people go shopping for groceries. Gas prices, I don't know where to start on gas prices. They just seem to keep creeping higher. And it's as hard as ever to make ends meet in this country. Gosh, government, if you do one thing, can you do something to get costs down? Would that be your priority? Would it be something to do with housing? The Prime Minister, Mark Carney's been promising to announce more details about a housing plan. He calls it Build Canada Homes. Details to come, but I mean, even though the market has cooled a little bit, the average sale price of a home in Canada, like all across the country, it averages about $700,000. $700,000. And in many Canadian cities, we've done lots of shows about what it's like to try and rent an apartment. You'd be hard pressed to find a 1-bedroom apartment for rent in any big Canadian city for anything less than $2,000 a month. Gosh, government, if you're going to fix something, do something about housing costs. Make that your priority. Or would it be something else? Like healthcare, maybe? Even though healthcare is a provincial responsibility, the federal government sends a lot of money to the provincial governments to help provinces pay for healthcare. And I mean, we're all familiar with the problems in the healthcare system, long waits in ERs, long waits for surgeries and medical scans, a shortage of family doctors, nurses that are run off their feet, and nurses that are burned out. What if the government made that its priority, made healthcare a priority? Or should it be something else like immigration? The conservatives, you listen to the conservatives, they're taking a much harder stance on immigration than they have in the past. Or maybe it's crime. Not a day goes by that there's not some news story about some terrible person committing some terrible crime. And more often than not, the terrible person has been in trouble before and is out on bail. You got to get tough on crime. If you're going to do one thing, government, get tough on crime. Would that be your priority? Or maybe it's just government, that the government is too big. The size of the government. It costs too much money. There are too many employees who are paid too much. Reduce the size of government. Or climate change. Whatever happened to the fight against climate change? The environmental movement in this country is very unhappy with this government. Carbon tax is gone. EV sales mandate under review. Clean fuel standards under review. The government might approve another pipeline. Right? What is the government's commitment to the fight against climate change? The most important battle of our lives. Won't somebody think of Greta? Retirement security, help for pensioners, help for the poor, social assistance, social housing, public transit. Lots of people have lots of different priorities. What should the government's priorities be? If you could say to the government, for goodness sake, fix this one thing. What is that one thing? What's your priority? Our phone lines are open right now. We'd love to hear from you on this Monday Talkback today. We can go off in all directions because there are no wrong answers to this question. Again, our call-in line is 1-833-668-2577. That's 1-833-668-2577. And if you've never called before, just mention that to us and we'll make your call a priority. We have a week to go before your elected representative takes their seat in the House of Commons. What should the government's priority be? If you could tell the government, please, government, can you please fix this one thing? What would that one thing be? 1-833-668-2577. We'll get to your phone calls shortly. Hope to hear from you today. It's Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know, and this is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
A week to go before MPs are back in the House of Commons. Talking about government priorities today. If you could tell the government, please try and fix this one thing. What would that one thing be? Dallas up first today on Talkback. Dallas is calling from Cambridge, Ontario. Hello, Dallas.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Very good. Dallas, what would you say?
Well, oddly enough, you mentioned it. Fuel prices. And actually, I was sitting here yesterday morning at about 5:30, and I clicked on my 570, and I was listening to a replay of your show. I believe it was from Friday. Might not have been, but
I talked about gas prices on Friday. Yeah.
Okay, I did not hear that show. But anyways, so from when the carbon tax got dropped a few months back, here in Cambridge, it went from $1.50 odd down to $1.28.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden, the prices inched its way back up to $1.42 on average.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't understand why, because as far as I know, the price of the barrel of oil has not risen, not substantially anyway. And if you think about it, the price of fuel, even though I don't drive personally, but the price of fuel affects everything that I bring into this house. And quite
oil
frankly,
prices, by the way, today $62 a barrel. Oil prices,
well,
62 US.
There
a
you
barrel.
go.
Yeah.
And remembering back maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, the prices that they're paying at the pumps right now, the barrel oil should be sitting about $80 a barrel.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Well, back in January, oil was $80 a barrel.
Pardon me?
Back in January, oil was $80 a barrel.
Right. But were we paying $1.42 a liter? No.
No.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, well, everybody knows if you have it in your house, it had to be delivered somehow to either the grocery store or whatever. It costs you money to go and get the stuff, et cetera, et cetera. So, the government, like all I hear now on the radio in the morning is the Enpro gas update. Well, you're going to be paying as high as this. I don't know if you recall, a few years back, there was a gentleman by the name of Dan McTeague. He was
I know Dan quite well, actually. Yeah.
Right. You never hear anything about his synopsis on the thing anymore. You know, like he was the gas guru, and like nobody explains why it's jumping 2 cents, back one, up two, back one. But it's slowly, like it's not going to be very long before these conglomerates get the price back to pre-carbon tax days.
Certainly getting up there. I mean, in Halifax, they're paying more than $1.50 a liter now, and it's all over the news in Vancouver that they're paying $1.80, almost $1.85 a liter in Vancouver.
Right.
Can you imagine? All right, Dallas. Thank you. Dallas is saying you fix one thing, you got to do something about the price of gas. I don't even drive that much, but I'd agree with you. We're paying about $1.46 in this part of the country. Cam in Nova Scotia. Cam. Hi, Cam.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, Cam. You can tell the government, I want you to fix one thing. If you can fix one thing for me, what would it be?
Stop dreaming about net zero.
Net zero. Okay. Why do you say that?
Well, I'm not suggesting that climate change is not real. It is. Canada's contribution is less than 2%. It's probably about 1.6%. So if tomorrow, for example, we never emitted another ounce of greenhouse gas, it would have absolutely no impact on climate change.
Okay.
And I think that's a fact. We're obsessed with something that we have really no control over, and that is Carney's mainstay. He's obsessed with it. When we imposed a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, if we really wanted EVs, then China would provide them. They're cheaper than anything that North America or Europe can produce, and it might even give us an opportunity to get rid of the tariffs on seafood and canola, for example. Now, canola is worth more than the steel, iron, and or aluminum in the auto industry. Totally, it's insane that we're not addressing this.
Okay.
Now,
But don't be so wedded. You're saying don't be so wedded to the idea of being net zero by whatever year. The most popular year, I think, was 2050. We have to be net zero by 2050.
Exactly, and that is absolutely insane, because the countries that are contributing to the climate change is the United States. They don't care. China, they don't care. They're building coal plants just about every week. And India. Now, if we could have some kind of influence with those three countries, we might have an impact. But to punish Canadians to address climate change is absolutely insane.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. All right. Greenhouse gas reduction targets, achieving net zero by whatever year, 2035, 2040, 2050. Don't be so wedded to climate change policies. There's some question about whether this government is as committed to that. It set the carbon tax to zero. It's putting the EV sales mandate under review. Does it ever come back? Clean fuel regulations going to be amended. So there is some question about that. All right. Thank you, Cam. And we are off and running on Monday's Talkback. Be right back with more of your calls. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
If you could tell the government, please, government, can you fix this one thing? What would that one thing be? That's what we're asking today. It's 1-833-668-2577 to have your say on Talkback. Carlos in Halifax today. Hello, Carlos.
Hello. Yes, well, like not long ago, U.S. President Donald Trump, he demanded China to buy more of its soybeans. So this week now we know China answer. According to the USDA, China contracts amounts to 0 kilo. China is buying nothing, absolutely nothing. So if there was one thing that I would ask the Prime Minister to fix is the relationship with China, because we are not just missing cheap EVs, we are missing big business. He has to fly there or something, just like the Premier from Saskatchewan did. Fly there, have a good 2 days talk to fix this, because we are missing a lot in terms of business. So fix the China relationship, for the love of God.
Okay. You think we should have closer business ties with China, sir?
Well, everybody else has. Who does not have that?
Okay.
Like everybody else has. You're not going to be asked to join the Communist Party there. They're not going to ask you for the membership there. They have their life, their problems. We have our life, our problems. Let's just do trade and business.
Okay. You view it very pragmatically, because some people don't think we should have closer relationships, economic or otherwise, with China, just given how that country runs itself and governs itself.
Yeah. Well, we have with other countries, with Saudi Arabia and stuff like, and I think had no issues up to this point, up to Trump, had no issues with trade, the relationship. Let's just have Chinese problems are a problem for the Chinese people. It's not up to us to go, well, you should change this and change that. No, let them figure out the best way of living, and let's just do trade, do business with them. That's all
Let's just do
is.
business. Okay. Business is business. Okay. Closer ties, business ties with China. Fix the trading relationship with China. Very interesting, Carlos. Thank you. From Halifax to Airdrie. Mike is in Airdrie. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Very good,
First-time
Mike.
caller. I was listening to your show.
Appreciate that.
It's I would say the first thing or the only thing is fixing the economy, but that whole umbrella of everything that falls under that, fixing the economy. You have to remember that we have so much natural resources and stuff that is available for us in Canada. The problem is that we have all these restrictions that is putting on using our natural resources. And all because the ideology and personal belief of who is in charge of the government. And they, I can go through the hypocrisy of zero net and carbon zero and stuff like that, but at the end of it, you see that it's all like more like a cult, like a ideology that is not sustainable.
Maybe look at policies such as that are left over from the Trudeau days, such as the oil and gas emissions cap or the West Coast tanker ban, or things,
like
the permitting
we are
process.
talking about like we are talking about, like you go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Oh, you have a cancer." Well, you have a cancer because for the 30 years of wrongdoing, you didn't get the cancer in the past 6 months. It's the same thing with our economy. Our economy didn't start falling down because Trump came into power. Of course, it helped with it to go down faster, but all these wrong decisions that happened during the 10 years, 15 years in the back got us to this point.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. The political season is about to begin. Just a week to go before MPs are back in the House of Commons. There'll be a budget this fall. We're talking about government priorities. And if you could tell the government, please just fix this one thing. What would that one thing be? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. A number of callers already have brought up climate change and the previous government's obsession with climate-related policies. There were a number of them aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The Trudeau government's targets for greenhouse gas emissions were to cut GHGs by 40 to 45% by the year 2030. 40 to 45%. So in a little more than, 5 years. Some people questioned how realistic that was. And then on net zero, the goal was by the year 2050, Canada would be net zero on greenhouse gas emissions. We mentioned the electric vehicle sales mandate. That's now been put under review by the Carney government. That was supposed to come into effect in 2026, affecting 20% of new vehicle sales in this country, and then it was to be fully enforced by the year 2035. And it was mandated that every vehicle sold in Canada by the year 2035 would have to be a zero-emission vehicle. Another big one was the clean electricity regulations. Not popular in Western Canada at all, but the Trudeau government was drafting regulations that would have mandated all of the electricity produced in Canada be zero emission by the year 2035, again, in about a decade from now. 1-833-668-2577. So, climate change has been one focus for some of the callers, but different people will have different priorities. If you could tell the government, please concentrate your efforts on this one thing. This is broken and needs to be fixed. What would that be? Have your say on Talkback. Rick is in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Hello, Rick. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Rob. Look, sorry to beat the same horse here, but climate change is the fundamental problem that the government has, in that it kind of leads to everything bad that the government has been doing, including, shutting Alberta out of, their natural resource getting to market and everything else. It is the single worst thing that the government does. Not only, we're talking about conspiracy theories or hoaxes. If you do, look, I got to tell you right now, I have a roof full of solar panels, some of which have been there since 1984. There was nobody I knew at the time who was thinking more of, resource protection. Don't use all of your resources all at once. And we've sort of come to that. Now, it used to be cars would pollute you with all kinds of different things. And, geez, I have a Toyota from, 2008. I'm pretty sure I could stand there and breathe the fumes for quite a while, that all the bad stuff has been taken out. Carbon dioxide is not a bad thing. But anyway.
Okay.
Well, no,
right.
I know. But
so you would say stop. You're with some of the other callers as kind of stop this obsession with climate policy?
Absolutely. It's the worst possible thing they could do. And again, I'm a guy who is all for resource management and maintaining our ability to mine copper and conservation, all that stuff. Okay, but climate change is not. It's just not. It's not real. Other than if you look around, I don't know where you are. Well, I know you're in Ontario, but in Nova Scotia, the greening of Nova Scotia over the last 10 years is something beyond belief, or maybe 20 years. The trees have everything is just greener. Okay, so anyway, enough said. You got
all
it.
right, all right, fair enough. Yeah, you're with some of the other callers. You think there should be less emphasis on, pardon me, get the mouth working here on this Monday. Less emphasis on climate policy. You're not alone in thinking that. And maybe this is Mr. Carney reading the room, okay? The Prime Minister set the carbon tax to zero. The Prime Minister put the EV sales mandate under review. This is the Prime Minister who says it might be back to the drawing board on the clean fuel regulations, clean fuel standard, something we've been talking about for years, what Mr. Poilievre was calling carbon tax 2.0. Steve in Waterloo today. Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Hi, Steve. Yeah, good to hear from you today, Steve. You can tell the government, please fix this one thing. What would it be, Steve?
Well, it's a personal thing that Carney should fix is, when he's at the podium and taking questions in from whoever, some group in front of him, he's always making notes. And while they're asking the question, he's making little tidbit notes and not really listening to the person. So I think that's pretty sort of rude on his part.
Okay.
And also, I don't know, when that guy was running for his position now, and did he mention one thing where he was said, I'm going to just make electric cars mandatory by 35. You think anyone would have voted for him? And then all of a sudden he comes in and he says this type of statement, and we're all to follow this. Ridiculous. Now, the thing is, I think he might have retracted a little bit and came back a bit on that sort of idea and all this, but I think it's outrageous how they can just sort of come in on the scene when they've gotten their position and just say, this is what we're doing. He's speaking for millions of us, and I don't think that's right. On that note, Rob, let's hear from the next caller.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Well, I have to stop here first before we hear from the next caller, but we will hear from lots of callers over the next hour and 20 minutes, I hope, at 1-833-668-2577. And it's Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
If you could tell the government, please, government, try and fix this one thing, what would that one thing be? What's your priority? Sean, up next. Sean's calling from Calgary today. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Rob. How you doing today?
Very good, Sean. Thank you. What would that one thing be for you?
Well, I would like to remove the fuel tax at the pump. This doesn't do anything to help, test carbon emissions or control carbon emissions. The one thing that I think would be useful is to create a carbon emissions testing program for vehicles. Have an emissions test of the tailpipe on the vehicles annually or every 2 years, and that would control emissions, get those vehicles tuned up and within the proper limits, as opposed to paying a fuel tax at the pump, which doesn't do anything to control emissions at all.
A number of provinces already run programs like that, where you have to get your vehicle tested. They call it an e-test or an emissions test. And if your vehicle,
we don't have that in Alberta.
There used to be a hot issue in Ontario. I'd have to look up what the status of that is now, but there used to be, you had to get your car e-tested every 2 years or something. I can't remember what it was now, but a number of provinces do run programs like that where you have to have your vehicle tested.
Right. Yeah, that would be good.
Do you think that would be good? Okay. All right. Okay. In exchange for bringing fuel taxes off at the pump. Reducing gas taxes. Okay. All right. Kind of a trade-off there, if you will. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I had today. Thanks. Love your show.
Your gas prices are up in Calgary, I noticed. On the rise, that's for sure.
Today.
$1.20. Okay. I looked it up. City News Calgary says the average price in Calgary today is $1.33. So you must have done very well. Okay. Thank you very much. Sean in Calgary. John is also in Calgary today. Hi, John.
Hey, how's it going, Rob?
Very good, John. Government, you can fix one thing. Fix this one thing, John. What is that thing?
How about let's stop spraying glyphosate on all the trees where all the forest fires keep happening? It's not a coincidence.
Okay.
It is fact.
Okay. This is herbicide, right? It's like Roundup?
Yeah. Yep. Basically,
Yeah.
if you look at all the leaves, they have a light film on them. And when you have a film on a leaf, it doesn't quite absorb the CO2 anymore. It inhibits it, actually. So you're doing two things. You're causing the forests to become more dry, and you're not absorbing the CO2. So it's counterintuitive, actually. Look at the provinces that don't spray it. They don't seem to have forest fires those years. It's very coincidental. But that's just my 2 cents. And let's get rid of this EV mandate permanently, and let's just bring in more hybrid options. Hybrids are, the way to go. Lithium mining is terrible. So,
Yeah. Well, there's quite a scandal in Nova Scotia right now because environmentalists and other activists were asking about, hey, what are you doing in Nova Scotia where they've had these couple of terrible wildfires? And environmentalists were wondering, are you spraying this stuff, this Roundup? And the government's response to it was, we're just not going to tell you anymore. We're just going to hide that information from people. We're not going to disclose where we're spraying it or if we're spraying it. Well, yeah, it's not a good look, is it?
When they tell you something, when they tell you they're not doing something, it's because they're doing it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. No. Very, very interesting one. It's not top of mind for a lot of people, but there's certainly been a lot of news stories about that spraying of that herbicide. Robert up next on priorities for the government. The government can fix one thing, Robert. What would you want the government to make a priority for you? What would be a priority?
I would say the main priority is create a business environment in which every person who wants to work can get a decent job and make a living and support his family in comfort. And every other policy has to be built on that base and build a framework around it.
Okay, so build business-friendly economic policies to attract new businesses and grow existing businesses.
Yeah, I would say that sort of defines it. And after that, whether you build climate change, work climate change policies that build around that. If you want to stop various other things, work things that work around that and don't impede it.
Okay, but you would like the government to be much more focused on being business friendly.
That's a simplified way of putting it, because being friendly for the businesses is not always the best way for people to make a living, because business friendly could be saying go for AI and go for robotics.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden people can't make a living.
Right. What about workers? Okay. Would work maybe worker friendly? Would that be more accurate?
Well, I guess so, but we've really got two choices over the next 25 years. You create an environment that creates jobs, or you create a minimum mandatory income that the government supplies. If you don't do one of the two, you're going to be in a whole bunch of trouble in 25 years.
Okay. All right. Very interesting. Thank you for your call today. We'll stop here. Be back with more of your calls. We have suddenly 3-4 lines available, so the wait won't be too long at all. We'd love to hear from you today. All your elected representatives will be making their way to Ottawa soon enough to make your life better. And they'll be doing it in all the provincial legislatures too. But if you could tell the government, please, concentrate your efforts here. This is a mess. This is broken. This needs to be fixed. What would that thing be for you? 1-833-668-2577 and have your say today on Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
If you could tell the government, fix this one thing, Focus your efforts here. This needs attention. What would that thing be? 1-833-668-2577 to Darlene. Up next on Talkback
Hello,
today. Hi,
Rob.
Darlene. Hi, Darlene. How are you?
Hi. I'm happy to say that I'm no longer first-time caller.
Okay,
I've been
good.
able
That's
to get
good.
it
I'm glad to hear
a couple
that.
of times.
Good
Absolutely
for
love
you.
your show. I listen to it as I drive around for work every day. But I'm conservative at heart, and I think there's a long list of things, not just one or two, that needs to be addressed with this government. It's the same old topics over and over again with inflationary taxes, and I'm an Albertan, so I'd love to see the bleed stop from equalization payments. Like,
Okay.
there's a long list, but I think when I dumb it down to my top two that I've always, had a soft spot for is mental health initiatives. I mean, that can touch base with a lot of things like homelessness and drug use and, crime and stuff like that. Like, I don't think we do
Okay.
enough for mental health initiatives. Like, that's
Mental
one
health,
that
okay.
I've even had the privilege to talk to some politicians about, but nobody ever really has an answer. And, it needs to be addressed in so many ways, but we don't. And the other thing is, we need to take better care of our seniors. There's a lot of seniors suffering financially, and the old age security hasn't gone up. Some of us are self-employed, so we don't get, pensions and stuff like that. So I'd love to see those two things addressed somewhere along the way. We just don't talk about it enough. And just the main thing with this Liberal government that I would love to see change is that the transparency. You hear a lot of other politicians talking, and they have, these great ideas and these great plans, and they talk about how they're going to do it, like Daniel Smith or Pierre Poilievre. I'm conservative, so I'm saying that. But even, I don't like Justin Trudeau at all, but at least he would say, this is what we're doing, and it would be done, and there's no changing it. But I think Carney's come along, and I just don't hear his plans. He has no budget, no transparency on that. The carbon tax was paused for the election, and then all of a sudden it's over here as an industrial tax, or even the EV mandate. It's recently we're talking about now, it's on pause. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to review it, but what does that actually mean? He doesn't give us anything. He's a very good speaker, but if you watch the debates, it's like he talks in circles. And so I'd love to see the transparency of this government changed.
Transparency,
And, the transparency, I don't see it in this government at all. It's just I don't know, he doesn't say anything. I don't know.
Right. Okay.
That's
All right.
my
I've written
about
down
this
three
one.
here. You're only supposed to pick one, but that's okay. I'll let you off the hook this time. Mental health, more supports for pensioners, and a government that's more transparent. Okay. Thank you. That was a very busy first hour. Let's keep it going in hour number 2. It's Monday's Talkback. Talking about government priorities. Government, if you could fix this one thing, what would that one thing be for you? Hour number 2 of Talkback, right after the latest breaking news, coming up next on News Radio. Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. 1 week to go before MPs are back in the House of Commons. And the government season gets back into full swing. What should the government's priorities be? If you could tell the government, please, government, try and fix this one thing. What would that one thing be? 1-833-668-2577 to Puma up next from Calgary today.
Hello, Rob.
Puma.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
How are
What
you?
would you say?
Okay. I know you have a limit on one thing, but I got two. Okay. First of all,
that's okay.
I agree with the previous caller on everything she said about accountability and transparency. So that I'm not going to bring that up. She already spoke about that. Perfect. Secondly, I work for myself. We work 100-hour weeks, day and night, pay our taxes. The government wastes their time doing audits, this, that, on people who are paying their taxes. Number one, they should put their resources to better use and see exactly who is evading huge taxes. Number two, we should stop giving out money that I'm working my ass off for, just handing it out like it's chump change to other countries. I believe in helping people out, but help yourself first out. Help yourself out first. So take care of the people that are in Canada, the economy in Canada, make Canada better, make Canada more frivolous for people that are here, instead of handing out billions and billions of dollars to other countries.
Okay, so you've been talking about the foreign aid. You'd like something done about the foreign aid budget, then? You think that's too generous?
Foreign aid budgets, taxation, equalization payments to Quebec, everything like such, right? I'm calling from Calgary. It's a shit show. No wonder people and big institutions move their money out of Canada because of this stupidity that our government has.
Okay, and on just what's going on with you would like people, like say the Canada Revenue Agency, to go after people who are really evading taxes, like the big offenders, whatever the case is.
Like they're wasting
people hiding money offshore or whatever the case might be.
Exactly. Like that's a bigger fish to fry than wasting time on like small taxi drivers and this and that. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Okay, I got
and
you.
Then, like,
yeah,
I mean,
loud and clear.
you're bothering the people that are working for the people here, but you're giving away all the money that you collect instead of improving our infrastructure, healthcare system, and police force and whatnot, right? So do it here.
Okay, more of a domestic focus. Fair enough, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Puma, for calling in today. To Miles is in Waterloo. Miles. Hello, Miles.
Yeah, before I give you my answer, people in Alberta have to recognize that, say, I'm an Albertan. Well, most of Albertans, at least half of them, in the past 40, 50 years, have come from the East. So they make it seem like they're indigenous. I'm an Albertan. So we got to get through that part. I get it, but you know what? They haven't been always there. Anyway, I think that all levels of government should scrap DEI and get back to merit-based hiring.
Okay.
And you know why? Because it shows. It actually shows. It's not, with the government employees now, with the DEI stuff, let's get them back to merit-based hiring. Best people for the job, whoever they are.
Okay. More merit-based hiring.
No, all
and just
merit-based
get rid of
hiring.
all merit-based hiring.
Would you hire some guy that just does oil changes for a living to swap an engine out on your car? Merit-based hiring. Get rid of the DEI stuff. It's not working out.
Okay. Fair enough, sir. All right. Thank you. That's your priority. Thank you. That's Miles in Waterloo. Who's up next here? Danvir. Up next in hour number 2 at 1-833-668-2577. Danvir. What would you say, Danvir?
Hey, Rob. I just wanted to say that I think the biggest factor that put us in this thing, or part of the factor, was Bank of Canada, and we need some restructuring there. I have full confidence in the governor, but there are a couple of deputy governors who do not care about the middle class. They like in 22, when they were supposed to, if they would have raised the interest rate like just 0.5% at that point, we wouldn't have seen this problem in our housing market. And they're still bringing back the focus on the housing prices. Yes, it could be a little bit a bigger problem than it was in 22, but there still needs to be like a fair thinking. Like those, they need to be, I think, re-vetted, and there should be restructuring in Bank of Canada, and that would be the best, I think. So now,
you remember, Mr. Poilievre used to say, he would get rid of the governor of the Bank of Canada. He would get a new governor of the Bank of Canada.
I don't think governor is the problem. Okay. Yeah, he has got one vote, but he's got a lot of say. But governor is still, when he realizes he's taken the best decision, but there is always forces underneath that push the decisions all the time, right? And there's some couple deputy directors. Like if you look at it, like one of the directors, like they had the one of the career objective, like one of the government positions, was to bring the housing prices down, but they haven't, even while in Bank of Canada, they haven't done that. So the quarter point decrease raise doesn't make any difference when the actual interest rate that we are paying is much more. So it's only helping banks or the stock market, not the common man.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Dan Veer wants something done with the Bank of Canada. He wants restructuring at the Bank of Canada. Interesting one. 1-833-668-2577. And tell me what you want the government to fix. If the government could fix one thing, what would it be? 1-833-668-2577. 3-4 lines available there. We'll get to your call shortly. You're on Talkback on a Monday on News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
You can say to the government, try and fix this one thing. It's not working. You got to fix it. What would that one thing be? 1-833-668-2577. What is it? Let's go to Abe, calling us again today from Champion, Alberta. Hello, Abe.
Hi, how are you?
Very good today, Abe. Yourself?
Oh, pretty good.
That's good.
You know, I called them before. You know, I've gone from retained earnings in January of $60,000 to now we're in the hole, my little service company. That's all due to Trump and his tariffs. Now, I want to tell you something. The adjustments I've made, I don't go for these damn government bailouts of certain industries and the hell with the rest of us, like the auto industry or the farmers. Just do what I'm doing. I made adjustments. I quit with the American supplier. I now found a Canadian supplier, and boy, I'll tell you, there's a. And the other thing I've done is I've cut other costs, and I've also sold assets. I don't want anybody to subsidize me. I don't think the government should subsidize businesses. And you know, I'm going to come out of this as strong as I was before, or stronger.
Okay. So support for the auto industry, or support for laid off workers in the auto industry, or the aluminum industry, or, you know, higher loan thresholds for canola farmers. You're against all of this stuff?
Maybe.
Oh, we've disconnected. He's got a rough cell connection there. It happens from time to time. Let's go to Andrew up next on Talkback today. Hi, Andrew.
Hey there, Rob. How are you?
Very good, Andrew. Thank you. What would you
All
say?
right.
What would that big thing be for you?
It would be electoral reform. Has anybody said that yet?
Electoral reform. No, nobody said that yet. No.
See, I'm thinking, you know, I mean, the immediate stuff is always going to be something that's going to change. But I think we need to get rid of first past the post, get some more seats for the West, so there's equal representation. And if memory serves, I'm pretty sure Trudeau, you know, talked about that when he was getting elected the first time around, and nothing ever happened. And I'd still like to see that happen. Just adjust that, make it more fair, make it more balanced across the country, change to the electoral process.
Okay. Get rid of first past the post like Mr. Trudeau promised to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you would favor something like representation by proportional representation, it's called, right? PR?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Or ranked ballots, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. There's a lot more people out here in this country now, so we need to take another look at that.
Okay. That's your big issue. Okay. That'd be your thing. Okay. No, that'd be your thing. We don't hear a lot about that anymore. Kind of fell by the wayside. Everybody, I guess if you're a political party and you win a majority government, you know, with less than 40% of the vote, all of a sudden you don't really want to do electoral reform anymore, do you? Right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Loud and clear. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Electoral reform, he said. Proportional representation or ranked ballots. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Simon is up next. Hello, Simon.
Hey, Rob. I'm first-time caller.
Well, I appreciate that, Simon. You get to talk sense into the government and tell them they have to fix one thing. What is that? thing that you want fixed?
Economy. I'm surprised. I haven't heard it anyways. I'm surprised nobody's mentioned the economy. It's in my opinion, Ford used to have that saying, "Quality's job one." In my opinion, the economy being job one. It's without that, all your social programs, all those are in question, and our economy isn't doing as well as some people, I guess, think it is.
No, actually quite weak right now. Unemployment rate above 7% now. GDP report came out not last Friday, but the week before that showed the economy contracted in the second quarter. We're this close to a recession, sir. So,
So we like our social programs in this country, and I'll say hello to everybody in the country. But we like our social programs. We like these healthcare and education, all this stuff. And yes, but that's if you haven't got a good economy, then that's going to suffer, and we need to really start concentrating on that. Yes.
So the economy is kind of like this big umbrella thing, like the economy. You have to fix the economy. I mean, where do you start there? Like, what would you do to fix the economy?
Well, first of all, I hear a lot of spending happening, but I don't hear any. Okay, now how are we going to pay for this spending? So I hear $2 billion going here, $2 billion going there, and I don't hear too much about. Okay, so what is it we're going to do to create the finances to do this? And pipelines. I'm from Alberta, so I firmly believe that pipelines are the way to go. Natural gas. We need to start selling our liquefied natural gas, and instead of saying that there's no business case for it, I'm sorry. There's customers out there. There's a business case for it. So we need to start doing that. Otherwise, I don't see growth in the economy for the next 10 years if we don't change the channel.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, just today, Mr. Carney was in Newfoundland and Labrador. It wasn't a $1 billion announcement, but it was another spending announcement, $80 million today for small and medium-sized businesses in Atlantic Canada being hit by tariffs. Funding to be administered through ACOA, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. But maybe we don't need that if we can fix the economy. It's the economy, stupid. You know that old line? It's the economy, stupid. 1-833-668-2577. Lots of lines available today for Talkback. Love to hear from you. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So we have been talking about government priorities today, and if you could tell the government to try and fix one thing that's really not working for you, what would that one thing be? 1-833-668-2577. Back to our phone lines now here on Talkback on this Monday. Luke is up next. Hi, Luke. You're on the air. What's that thing you need fixing, Luke? Yeah, go ahead, Luke.
So back in 2018, President Trump decreased the corporate tax rate in America from, I believe, 34% to 21% or 22-ish%, something like that. We didn't respond. Up here in Canada, we didn't respond. We let our corporations basically suffer that, right? Because you lose your competitive edge when you're paying that much more tax than somebody else around the world. And that, to me, was a big miss by the Trudeau government.
Okay, so you think corporate taxes should be lowered? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, to make us more competitive, right? Like the last caller wants the economy fixed. The good way to fix the economy is to have people wanting to stay here and run businesses here. But why would you if it's so much cheaper somewhere else? We've lost business to that. You know, there's that. Then there's lots of things, right? C-69 can go in the garbage. C-48 can go in the garbage. The cap on the cap on emissions can go in the garbage. All these things will help our economy and help fix the country and help. I say fix the country. It's maybe the wrong word, but just to help the people out, right? If businesses do better, they can pay workers more, and so on and so forth.
Right. Okay. But you would focus on corporate taxes. Now, the corporate tax rate at the federal level is 15%, just so you know. 15%. And then the various provinces have their own corporate taxes. On Ontario, it's 11.5%. In Alberta, it's 8%. Nova Scotia, it's 14%. So, yeah.
Yeah, if we could bring it down.
Right. It's probably about 25%, give or take, average across the country. Effective tax rates.
Okay. About that, I don't know the exact.
Too high in your opinion.
I don't know. I don't know if they're like astronomically high, but I think that we should have responded. I think there should have been a response to that, and there wasn't. Right. Instead, there was the opposite, where we're going to put more restrictions on people while all this is happening.
Right. I think the heart of your matter is we have to help our businesses be more competitive.
Yeah, and the little guys, right? It's again, why do we help out the auto industry? We throw money at them. We throw money at everyone, but the tiniest people, I don't think they get the help that they need.
Okay, fair enough, Luke. Thank you. No, thank you for your call, Luke. Yep. 1-833-668-2577. We'll have to stop here. The latest breaking news just moments away. We've got a week to go before all your MPs are back in the House of Commons. If you couldn't talk to a single one of them who would say they're not going to try and make your life better. But if you could tell the government, please, if you want to make my life better, here's one thing you could do. What would that one thing be? 1-833-668-2577. Be back with more of your calls right after the latest breaking news here on News Radio. Well, it's been very busy all day here on Talkback, but right now, no callers. So free phone lines, you can grab one. We'll put you right on the air. We're asking about government priorities today. Federal government, by way of your MPs, they're back in the House 1 week from today. If you could tell this government, you got to fix this one thing, what would it be? Not that long ago, I think it was the week before last, David Coletto, he's the CEO of Abacus Data, polling firm, released the results of a new survey. It was about the top issues in the country right now, what Canadians are telling his firm, what they think the top issues are. Dealing with Donald Trump was actually third on the list. And it really wasn't even close to being the top issue. The top issue, far and away the top issue, was the rising cost of living. That was by far the number one issue for most Canadians. It was almost 7 out of 10 Canadians said that the number one issue in the country right now is the rising cost of living. Fewer than 4 in 10 Canadians said the number one issue in the country right now is dealing with Donald Trump. Second on the list was the economy. The economy, which could mean any number of things, but the rising cost of living was number one by a mile, followed by the economy. Then it was Donald Trump. Then healthcare was actually fourth on the list. Then housing affordability. Those were the top 5 issues, according to this one survey, that Canadians think are confronting the country right now. Cost of living, the economy, Donald Trump, housing affordability, and healthcare. Healthcare always used to be near the top of the list. Any list. What are the top issues facing the country? Healthcare. If you're going to fix anything, fix healthcare. Because we spend so much of our tax dollars on the healthcare system, and the healthcare system is having so many problems. Climate change, although a very popular topic today with our callers, was actually down on this list. The percentage of people who said fighting climate change is the biggest priority in the country right now. Only 16% said that. Way more people said immigration was a bigger issue. Almost a third said immigration issue, top issue in the country right now. Immigration just outside the top 5 at number 6 on this list of big issues from Abacus Data. Despite all the headlines about crime and the Conservatives and their focus on issues related to crime, the so-called Canadian crime wave that we hear from Conservatives, revolving door justice system, catch and release, all the attention on things like having a castle law, self-defense laws because of the story in Lindsay, Ontario, daily news stories about crime in communities. Crime not seen as the top issue for too many people, but the same percentage of people who think climate change is the biggest issue in the country also think crime is the most important issue in the country. Way down on this list from Abacus, things like fighting poverty, foreign interference, Remember that when that was like the hot issue, we have to talk about foreign interference. That has totally faded away, at least out of the news cycle. And reconciliation, Indigenous and First Nations issues in the name of reconciliation. David Coletto puts 13 big issues on a list, goes and calls 1,500 Canadians. What's the top issue in the country? Reconciliation is last. Climate change, kind of in the middle. And the cost of living, far and away the top issue. Far and away. But not everyone is going to have the same priorities. Depends on people's worldview. Depends on where people are in their lives. Retirees have different priorities than younger people. People who live in big cities might have different priorities than people who live in small towns. Women might have different priorities than men. And the government might have a completely list of other priorities. It seems for this government, a lot of them has to do with the softening economy and coming to some understanding of trying to deal with Donald Trump. Let's go to first-time caller in Calgary today. Sean is in Calgary. Hi, Sean. Thanks for calling, Sean.
Good day, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. Thanks for calling. If you could say you got to fix this one thing, what would that one thing be?
Well, I have a concern with with some of the things with immigration, but mainly with the temporary worker, the temporary foreign worker program.
Okay.
I think we not only need to stop that or slow it down. I don't really necessarily think that's the problem, but I think we need to do an audit on all the businesses using this program.
Probably not a bad idea.
I have a family member who applied to a job at a donut shop and was told explicitly that they do not hire white people. Now, this shop is owned by a white person, but they only have temporary foreign workers because, according to him, they don't take their vacation time. They'll just get paid out, but still work the hours. They don't complain. They'll come in when they're sick. And I feel like if we're just going to have slavery light, maybe those people shouldn't have business licenses.
Okay. I mean, did they really say that we don't hire white people? Because I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to say that. Pretty sure you're not allowed to say that. You wouldn't be allowed to say, well, we don't hire black people or we don't hire Jews or whatever the case might be. Sounds like a pretty outrageous thing to say.
That's something I think my family member would have lied about.
Okay.
But I also know that the individual that owns this restaurant explicitly has Indian foreign workers. I have nothing against foreign workers when they're needed. But if your business can only survive with 100% foreign workers, I don't understand how that can be a business that should be allowed.
Right. Okay. So the conservatives are saying you've got to scrap the program. We did a whole show on this last week. A lot of people thought, well, scrap it entirely. There are industries where they're needed, like it's almost 85,000 temporary foreign workers a year are working on farms or in greenhouses. They're working in agriculture, which is very much the history of the temporary foreign worker program. That's how it started, actually, in the mid-'60s. It didn't look anything like the program looks like now, where they've already brought in 6 months through the year 105,000 temporary foreign workers. But maybe a review, maybe an audit, an investigation. We have an auditor general at the federal level. All the provinces have their own auditors general. So, maybe not a bad idea, sir. Thank you. Be right back. It's Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
If you could say to the government, you got to fix this one thing. This is just not working in Canada. What would that one thing be for you? 1-833-668-2577. Dave is in High River, Alberta. Hello, Dave. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Rob. Hi.
Yeah, very good to hear from you today, Dave. What would you say?
Well, I think we should all sit back and help Carney. We should help him with his new budget.
Okay.
And I would start with the biggest project being, let's get the civil service back to the size it was in the pre-Trudeau era. Now, I know you have the numbers in front of you, but the federal civil service has absolutely exploded and created an albatross around our neck. If we could get control of that, and there's a way to do it. If we could get control of that, we could put money back in the taxpayer's pocket. Here's some examples of what I think we should do. In addition to reducing the civil service, we should sell the post office. And that way, the new owner can incorporate and bring in the technology and systems to deliver to the standards that we determine are necessary.
Okay.
So let's sell the post office.
Sell the post office. Okay.
Yeah, let's stop funding the CBC and let it go more to a commercial model.
Okay. Defund the CBC. Okay.
Right. We now have service clubs. In addition to volunteer organizations, we have the churches, which are hurting for funding. And I'm not suggesting we fund them. No, quite the opposite. By taking and putting those services back into their camp, the individuals in society can fund those organizations. We can make donations, tax-deductible donations to the service club or church of our choice, and let them take over the social agenda, which the feds seem to have absorbed or assumed. So I think it's just a restructuring of how much money is gathered by who, and give it back to the people to decide for themselves.
Okay. Just on the size of the public service, it grew by 43% in the last 9 years. That was the latest figures that we had. And if the same growth happened between now and 2029, the number of full-time equivalents working for just the federal government, this is not according to me, this is according to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, would hit 442,000 people. 442,000 just for the federal government, just working for the federal government.
Would that make them the largest employer in Canada?
It already is the largest employer in Canada, the federal government. Yeah, and the overall compensation per full-time equivalent, including pensions, benefits, and salaries, would be $172,000 a year by the year, not right now, but by the year 2029.
Right.
172,000 per person, per full-time employee.
So Carney needs some help. He needs to hear from more people that have ideas on how we can restructure government spending. He's throwing billions out here and there, but as per one of your previous callers, he's not talking about how we're going to pay for any of this. So I think it's time to change the narrative, maybe even invite him to change the narrative on where are we going to find the funding and how are we going to create the efficiencies necessary.
Very good, Dave. Thank you. Thank you. Satori in Kitchener. Satori. Hi, Satori. Go to Robert. Okay, let's go to Robert next then. Hi, Robert.
Oh, hey, Rob.
Yeah, very good to hear from you today.
I haven't spoken to you since the election.
Okay.
Because I didn't like the outcome, so I had to for a while.
You've been in mourning, have you? Okay.
Yeah, it takes a while, Rob. So first thing is, I guess what I would say is we need to repeal the anti-pipeline bill. I mean, we don't have a utility corridor across the country yet, but companies, private corporations are going to come build a pipeline until they can, right? And I just want to say on the messaging now with this, he ran on, we're in the biggest crisis of our lifetime because of the USA.
Yes.
And now we got the best deal in the world. 85%
yes, we do have the best deal in the world. Yeah. He wants to break us so he can own us to, well, actually, we have the best deal of anybody. We've got a pretty good deal. Yeah, it is quite a change. You're right there.
But now they're using the word, we're going to be in a rupture. It's things are going to rupture. So rupture in what way? We're going to go into massive, we're going to have a downturn in the economy, going to have high unemployment. We're going to have a big rupture, and it's going to take time. Well, why are we going to be in a rupture if we can stop it? And we can stop it by getting this country making money. spot rather than spending.
Okay. Well, I mean, the Prime Minister, it does have this. He opened up an office in Calgary, the National Projects Office. Eventually, there will be a list. Some media outlets are already circulating a list of 32 projects. There's a pipeline on there. More, and there are various LNG projects as well, primarily going on the West Coast. So, there will be something, I think, for the energy sector if we do get those big projects moving. That's the plan so far from the Carney government. Thank you, Robert, for your call. I'm glad your period of mourning is over, sir. We'll be right back. Life is filled with disappointments. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
The government should fix one thing. What's that one thing for you that you'd like to see the government fix, improve? Roland is up next in Calgary. Hello, Roland.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very good, Roland. Thank you. What would you say?
I'm going to say it's immigration.
Immigration, okay.
We have 8.4% unemployment here in Alberta. People are moving here in droves and getting driven in here in droves from what I can see. And, if we don't close the door and clean up the mess, it's just going to continue and continue. It's never going to stop.
Okay.
It doesn't matter where you go, the unemployment just seems to be unbelievable. And yet, we're bringing more and more people in. And what I understand, listen to one of your shows there was a majority of them don't have a skill. So we bring them here and they're working at Tim Hortons or a coffee shop or something, whatever it might be.
That's with the temporary foreign worker low wage stream. I mean, certainly that's what it is. Low wage, low skilled stream. That's what it's there for. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not what we need. We need people like I'm retiring from the construction world. We need guys that know how to build houses and renovate and fix plumbing and whatever it might be that comes along in, say, the construction world or welding world or auto body, anything. Doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But to bring this non-skilled people in, to me, is ridiculous. Like, we're just filling up the country with unemployment more and more.
Yeah, which is not to say that there aren't streams of immigration where, it's based on, skilled workers. We have an express entry system that has all kinds of things underneath it. Federal Skilled Workers Program, the Federal Skilled Trades Program, a Canadian Experience Class. We have Self-Employed Persons Program. This is the thing. When you start digging into the immigration system, you realize, my gosh, we have a lot of different immigration programs.
Yeah. And, and the thing is, every one of those programs takes a lot of people to operate, which are getting paid from our tax dollars instead of going into, doing something for the country. Lowering the taxes so people can live better would be the biggest one I look at. And you look at, getting taxes down is probably the biggest thing. I always say when we talk about this, I think 25 cents is all that's left out of every dollar after we paid all the taxes and fees from A to Z, from utilities to whatever it may be, and income tax, on and on. It's just huge, and that's got to be straightened out.
Okay. Thank you so much. We got to wrap it up there. That's our time for today. Wow, so busy we couldn't get to everybody because so many people have so many different priorities, I guess. But we will be back tomorrow with a brand new topic and more of your calls. And as always, the latest breaking news. That's coming up next. I'm Rob Snow, here with Curtis Giroux, and this is Talkback on Now You Know on News Radio.